She is still there, but she left a long time ago. And most men never even noticed. If you are a husband, a father, a partner, or a man who loves a woman and wants to be better for her, the next hour of this message may be the most important hour you invest in your relationship. Not because I will give you tricks or shortcuts or ways to manipulate her emotions, but because I will tell you the truth, the deep, often ignored, spiritually grounded truth of what a woman's heart is actually asking for. And most men, I say this with love and not with judgment, most men spend their entire lives getting this wrong. They provide, they sacrifice, they work, and they wonder why she still seems far away. Before we go any further, if Allah matters to you, if this relationship matters to you, stop for a moment and type "I love Allah" in the comments. Let that be your intention as you sit with me through this message. I want you to imagine something. I want you to sit with this image and let it land. There is a woman. She wakes up in the morning beside her husband. She makes breakfast. She gets the children ready. She manages the home. She smiles when guests come. She answers messages. She does everything that a devoted wife and mother does. But when the house becomes quiet, when the children are asleep and the lights are low and it is just her and her own thoughts, she feels something that she has stopped trying to explain. She feels alone. Not the kind of alone that comes from having no one around. She feels alone in the deepest way a human being can feel alone. She feels alone while in a relationship, while being loved, or at least while being told she is loved. She feels like she is managing a household with a man who lives in it, but not truly with her. And here is what breaks my heart about this picture. She probably stopped saying it out loud months ago, maybe years ago, because every time she tried to speak, one of two things happened. Either she was told she was overreacting, or she was given a solution when all she wanted was to be heard. So she learned to fold her pain neatly and put it away somewhere he would not see it. She learned to say, "I am fine," when she meant, "I have been drowning and you have not noticed." She learned to say, "It does not matter," when she meant, "It is the only thing that matters to me right now." And if you are listening to this and you recognize that woman, whether she is your wife, your mother, your sister, or a woman you once loved, I need you to stay with me, because what I am about to share with you does not only apply to marriages in crisis, it applies to every relationship where a man genuinely wants to do better but was never taught how. A woman does not usually become distant in one single moment. There is rarely one catastrophic event that turns her heart cold. What happens is far more quiet, far more gradual, and in some ways far more devastating. She becomes distant after the 10th time she felt unheard, after the 20th time she reached for him emotionally and found no one there, after the 30th time she told herself, maybe tomorrow will be different, and it was not. The disconnection builds like water damage behind the wall. By the time it is visible, it has already been happening for a very long time. And this is the thing that most men miss entirely. They wait for a crisis. They wait for the argument, the tears, the threat of leaving. And when it finally comes, they say they did not see it coming. But she saw it coming for years. She just kept hoping he would see it too. This message exists for the man who wants to see it before it reaches that point, and even for the man who is already standing in the rubble of a relationship that has cooled, wondering how it happened and whether anything can be rebuilt. The answer is that understanding is the first step. And Allah, the Lord of all, who knows every whisper in every heart, placed within the bond of marriage a mercy and a tenderness that is only unlocked when both people genuinely try to see each other. Stay with me, we are only at the beginning. Let me speak honestly about a misunderstanding that I have seen destroy more marriages than almost anything else. It is the belief that provision equals love. That a man who works, who pays the bills, who buys gifts, who keeps a roof over the family has fulfilled the emotional requirements of a husband. Now let me be clear. Provision is a responsibility. It is honored in our faith. A man who provides for his family is fulfilling a sacred duty, and that should never be minimized. But provision is not the full definition of love, and many men have spent their entire marriages believing it is, and then being genuinely confused and hurt when their wife says she feels alone or unloved. He says, "Do you not see what I do for you? I wake up early. I sacrifice my comfort. I carry pressure you do not even see. I give you everything." And he means it. He genuinely means it. And she knows he means it. She sees the sacrifice. She is grateful for the security, but she is also emotionally starving. And she does not know how to say that to a man who is already exhausted and already feels like he is giving everything he has. This is one of the most painful miscommunications in marriage. He feels unseen for his sacrifice. She feels unseen for her emotional need, and they are both right and they are both suffering, and neither of them has the language to cross the distance between them. What women are telling us and what our faith confirmed 14 centuries ago when the Prophet, peace be upon him, described the best of men as the best to their wives is that love has a language beyond the practical. It has a language of presence, of tenderness, of being chosen and prioritized and emotionally held. The Prophet, peace be upon him, used to sit with his wife. He used to listen to her. He used to wipe her tears. He used to race with her. He used to call her the most beloved person to him by name in front of others without embarrassment or hesitation. This was the standard that was set for us. Not a standard of wealth or provision alone, a standard of deep, consistent, emotionally engaged love. And somewhere along the way, many of us lost sight of it. She does not remember the expensive gift from 3 years ago as vividly as she remembers the night she was crying and he turned over and went to sleep without asking what was wrong. She does not remember the holiday he paid for as sharply as she remembers the time she told him she was overwhelmed and he said, "Stop being dramatic." These small moments, these seemingly minor responses are what she carries, and the accumulation of them is what determines how safe or unsafe she feels in the relationship. So if you think the big gestures cancel out the small wounds, I need you to hear this clearly. They do not. The small moments are where love actually lives. The first thing a woman needs, the foundation beneath everything else I am going to share with you, is emotional safety. And I want to explain this concept carefully because it is one of the most misunderstood things in relationships. Emotional safety does not mean she is fragile. It does not mean she cannot handle difficulty or disagreement. It does not mean the man must walk on eggshells or never speak his truth. Emotional safety means she can be honest with him without being afraid of what will happen. She can say, "I felt hurt," and instead of being attacked, dismissed, or punished with silence, she is met with something that resembles understanding. Think about what it takes for a person to share their pain. It takes vulnerability. And vulnerability requires trust. It requires the belief that the person on the other side will handle what you share with care. When the woman has shared her feelings repeatedly and been told she is too sensitive, too emotional, too dramatic, or just wrong about what she experienced, she does not stop having feelings. She stops sharing them. And a relationship where one person has stopped sharing their inner world is a relationship that has begun to hollow out from the inside. I remember hearing a husband once say, "She just stopped talking to me one day. I do not know what happened." and I thought about how many years of dismissed emotions, of conversations shut down, of tears that were met with impatience had accumulated before she reached that point. It rarely happens suddenly. It is almost always the result of a woman who tried to be heard again and again and eventually decided quietly and painfully that she would rather be alone in her silence than rejected in her vulnerability. What emotional safety looks like in practice is quite simple, even if it requires genuine effort. When she says, "You hurt me," the response that builds safety is not, "Well, you hurt me too, and here is why what I did was justified." The response that builds safety is, "Tell me what happened. Help me understand. I did not intend to hurt you, and I want to know where I went wrong." That response, which costs nothing materially and takes perhaps 30 seconds to offer, does more for the emotional health of a marriage than almost any other thing a man can do. And the reason is not only psychological, the reason is spiritual. Our faith teaches us to be just, to hear the other side, to respond to people the way we would want to be responded to. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "None of you truly believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself." And a marriage is the closest, most sacred human relationship we have. If you would want to be heard in your pain, she deserves to be heard in hers. And here is the thing that will stay with me, because this is important. Emotional safety, once established, changes everything else. A woman who feels safe with her husband does not become demanding or controlling. She becomes softer. She becomes more open. She becomes easier to be around, not because she has no needs, but because her needs are being met in the most fundamental way, the way of being truly seen. Keep that in your mind as we move forward, because everything else I share with you today is built on this foundation. There is a tendency in men that is so deeply ingrained, it often happens without any awareness. When a woman shares a problem, a man immediately reaches for a solution. She says, "I am exhausted and overwhelmed." He says, "Well, you should organize your time better." She says, "I feel disconnected from you." He says, "We can plan a date night." She says, "I have been feeling really low lately." He says, "You should exercise more. That always helps." And every time he does this, he genuinely believes he is being helpful. He is not being dismissive. He is trying to solve the problem because that is how he shows care. But she is not experiencing it as care. She is experiencing it as being dismissed. Here is the psychological reality behind this. For many women, talking about a problem is not the same as asking for that problem to be solved. Talking is the process by which she organizes her emotions, reduces her stress, and feels connected to the person she is sharing with. When she says, "I am exhausted," she is not primarily asking for a time management seminar. She is saying, "I need you to see how much I am carrying right now. I need you to sit with me in this feeling for a moment before we move forward. I need to feel that my experience matters to you before I can receive your advice." Imagine this. You come home after the most difficult day of your life. Something went seriously wrong. You feel crushed. And before you can even finish the first sentence, the person you love most gives you a 3-step plan for how to avoid this situation in the future. How does that land? There is a coldness to it, is there not? Not because the advice is wrong, but because the timing is wrong. Because you needed to feel held before you needed to feel guided. That is exactly what she is experiencing when you reach for solutions before you reach for understanding. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was described by those closest to him as someone who listened completely. When someone spoke to him, he turned his entire body toward them. He gave his full attention. He did not glance away. He did not formulate his response while they were still speaking. He was present. And this quality, this full and attentive presence, is one of the most powerful gifts a husband can offer his wife. Not expensive, not complicated. extraordinarily rare. Before you offer solutions, before you give advice, before you explain why things are actually fine, try simply saying, I hear you. This has been heavy. Tell me everything, and then be quiet. And listen as if what she says is the most important thing you will hear today, because for her, in that moment, it is. I want to speak about something that breaks more hearts than dramatic betrayal ever could. I want to speak about the pattern that is so common in long-term relationships that many people have simply accepted it as normal. The pattern goes like this. Things get difficult. She becomes distant or expresses her pain. He realizes something is wrong. He puts in effort, becomes attentive, communicates better, shows affection, remembers the small things, and for a brief window of time, the relationship feels alive again. She softens, she opens back up, she hopes, and then slowly he slips back. The attention fades, the communication thins out, the affection becomes mechanical or disappears again, and she is left standing in the same place she started, except now with a little less hope than before. This cycle, if it repeats enough times, does not just exhaust her, it teaches her something. It teaches her that his effort is reactive rather than genuine, that it comes when she is at her limit and disappears when things are stable. And eventually she begins to understand, perhaps without even fully articulating it to herself, that she will never be able to relax into this relationship. Because the moment she does, the moment she stops expressing her dissatisfaction, the attention will vanish again. She is managing his effort by managing her own emotional expressions, and that is not a relationship. That is an exhausting, never-ending emotional performance. Consistency is not about grand gestures. It is about small, repeated acts of care that say, without words, you are on my mind even when there is no emergency. It is the text message in the middle of the day that asks nothing and says only thinking of you. It is the moment he notices she is tired before she says it. It is the time he sits beside her after dinner without being asked, without his phone, just present. It is the way he speaks to her on an ordinary Tuesday when there is no argument to smooth over and no special occasion to celebrate. Ordinary tenderness. That is what she is asking for. That is what she is hungry for. And that is what most men in the busyness of life forget to give. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was asked, which actions are most beloved to Allah? And the answer was, those that are done consistently, even if they are small. Consistent, even if small. This principle applies to worship, and it applies with equal power to marriage. A marriage that receives consistent small acts of love every day is far stronger than one that receives grand romantic gestures twice a year and nothing in between. She does not need a holiday. She needs you to ask how her day was and actually listen to the answer. She does not need flowers. She needs you to notice that she is overwhelmed before she breaks down. Consistency is the language of genuine love. And the woman whose husband is consistent does not walk around wondering whether he loves her. She knows. She feels it every single day. There is a question that lives quietly in the heart of almost every woman in a long-term relationship. She may never say it out loud. She may not even be fully conscious of it, but it shapes how she feels every day. The question is, if he had the choice right now, would he still choose me? Not choose me the way someone keeps furniture because it is familiar, but choose me the way someone chooses a future, with intention, with enthusiasm, with the recognition that what he has is something worth protecting. This feeling of being chosen is not satisfied by the wedding ring or the marriage certificate or the shared mortgage. Those are legal and practical choices. The emotional choice, the one she needs to feel, is demonstrated differently. It is demonstrated when he defends her in a conversation where she is being spoken of poorly, even if the person speaking is his own family. It is demonstrated when he puts his phone down and looks at her when she is speaking, really looks at her with the same attention he would give something that genuinely interested him. It is demonstrated when she is no longer at her most beautiful, no longer at her most energetic, no longer performing for anyone, and he still looks at her and makes her feel like she is the most worthwhile person in his space. Women notice everything, not because they are calculating, but because they are emotionally attuned. She notices that he laughs easily with his friends, but arrives home heavy and silent. She notices that he listens patiently to his colleagues, but interrupts her within 2 sentences. She notices that he is warm and generous with strangers, but has not touched her gently in weeks. She is not keeping score out of resentment. She is piecing together an understanding of where she falls in his priorities. And when the picture that emerges places her near the bottom of that list, she does not always argue about it. She simply starts to close, a little more each time, a little more each time. Allah, our Almighty Creator, described the relationship between husband and wife as one in which each is a garment for the other. Sit with that description for a moment. A garment is the thing that is closest to your body. It is the thing that covers you, protects you, warms you, and moves with you wherever you go. It is not the coat you put on for appearances. It is the layer beneath everything else. To be that for each other is to be genuinely chosen, deeply intertwined, protected and protecting. That is what she wants. That is what she deserves. Not to be a decorative item displayed when convenient, but a true companion chosen daily, in private and in public, in difficulty and in ease. Any man can be gentle when he is happy. Any man can be kind when life is going smoothly and the children are well and the bills are paid and nothing is pressing on his chest. The real character of a husband, the truth of who he is in a marriage, is revealed not in the peaceful moments, but in the difficult ones, in the arguments, in the moments of disagreement, in the late nights when he is exhausted and frustrated and she says something that lands wrong. Who is he in those moments? What does his voice sound like? What does his face look like? What words does he choose? Because here is what she carries. Not the memory of the argument itself. She can usually let that go. What she carries is the memory of how she was treated during it, the word he used, the tone he took, the way he looked at her when he was angry, like she was an obstacle rather than his partner, the moment he mocked what she was feeling, the time he brought up something from 2 years ago in order to win a point, the threat he made in anger even if he did not mean it, even if he apologized the next morning, even if he said he did not mean it, she heard it, her heart heard it, and hearts do not forget as easily as mouths retract. There is a very specific kind of wound that comes from being disrespected by the person who is supposed to love you most. It is different from the wound of a stranger's cruelty. When a stranger is cruel, you can dismiss it. When the person whose opinion matters most to you, the person whose home you share, whose children you raise, whose arms you sleep in, when that person is the source of cruelty, even small cruelty, it cuts in a direction that casual kindness cannot fully reach. The wound sits underneath, and every time the same behavior appears again, it deepens a little more. The Prophet, peace be upon him, described the best of men as those who are best to their wives. And he demonstrated this standard throughout his life, even in disagreements, even in difficult moments. His guidance to us was to say the better thing, to preserve dignity even when emotions are high, to never allow anger to become abuse, whether physical or verbal. He said that the strong person is not the one who can wrestle others to the ground, but the one who can control himself in the moment of anger. Control yourself in the moment of anger. This is the standard, and it is not a low standard. It is one of the most demanding acts of emotional maturity available to a human being. But it is what love asks of us, and it is what she is asking of you, often without words. Every single time she watches how you behave when things get hard. Practical wisdom here is simple, even if it requires deep effort. When a conflict is rising, when the voice is getting louder and the words are getting sharper, stop. Not to abandon the conversation, not to give her the punishment of silence, but to pause long enough to prevent the irreversible. Say out loud that you need a moment to collect yourself before continuing. This one act, this single step of choosing restraint over reaction, demonstrates more love and more commitment to the relationship than almost anything else you could do in that moment. She will remember it. Not because it was perfect, but because it was chosen. I want to talk about something that does not get spoken about enough in conversations about marriage. Something that affects millions of women in ways that accumulate quietly and then one day arrive as complete emotional exhaustion. It is called the mental load, and it is the invisible, unending, relentless cognitive work of managing a family that mostly falls on the woman, even in households where both partners work, even in households where the husband considers himself involved and helpful. The mental load is not about the physical tasks themselves. It is about the constant background processing that never stops. It is remembering that the child has a doctor's appointment next Thursday. It is noticing that the kitchen supplies are running low before anyone else has noticed. It is tracking the emotional temperature of everyone in the household and adjusting accordingly. It is planning meals, managing social obligations, noticing when a child seems quieter than usual, remembering which relative has a birthday this month, organizing the school schedules, monitoring the household finances. It is not one task, it is 1,000 tasks running simultaneously all the time in the background of everything else she is doing. And the thing that makes this most exhausting is not the volume of it, it is the invisibility of it. When a man washes the dishes, it is visible, it can be acknowledged, appreciated, even praised. But when a woman spends 3 hours of her week mentally organizing the family's entire logistical life, no one sees it. When she lies awake at night, mentally running through everything that needs to happen tomorrow, no one knows. When she manages her own emotions in order to manage the emotional atmosphere of the home, no one thanks her for it. She is carrying something real and significant, and it is largely unseen. I want to speak directly to husbands here with all the respect and care that I have for them. When your wife says she is exhausted and you look around and see a home that is functioning, children who are cared for, meals that are being made, and wonder what she is so tired about, please understand that you are seeing the output of an enormous amount of invisible work. You are seeing the result of her effort. You are not seeing the effort itself. She is tired from what you cannot see, and when she asks for help, what she is often really asking for is for you to begin to see it. Not to be her employee who waits to be told what to do, but to be her partner who notices what needs doing and does it without needing to be asked. There is a narration describing the Prophet, peace be upon him, helping in the household. He would sew his own clothes, mend his shoes, and serve himself. He did not consider domestic contribution beneath him. He did not wait to be asked. He participated. He was present in the reality of the home. And this is one of the most beautiful models of partnership that our tradition gives us. The man who lightens the invisible load, who says, I noticed you are tired, so I handled this without being asked. That man is speaking a language of love so deep and so rare that it is almost always received as an act of profound care. Notice what she carries, then help carry it. There is a kind of loneliness that is very specific and very quiet. It is the loneliness of a woman who has stopped asking for affection because she has been rejected or ignored in that request one too many times. She stopped reaching for his hand because he pulled away or did not respond. She stopped leaving affectionate messages because they were not reciprocated. She stopped expressing how much she desired his tenderness because expressing it made her feel more alone than not expressing it, so she stopped. And now the distance between them feels mutual when actually it was created by her withdrawal from repeated small rejections. Affection in a marriage is not a luxury. It is not a reward for good behavior. It is not something that gets expressed only in intimate moments or special occasions. Affection is the daily oxygen of emotional connection. It is a gentle tone of voice when asking her something ordinary. It is a hand on her shoulder as you pass behind her in the kitchen. It is a text in the middle of the afternoon that says nothing important and everything important at the same time. It is looking at her and saying something kind about her without a reason. It is sitting beside her and being present, not scrolling, not thinking about work, just there. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that even a smile at your brother is an act of charity. And if a smile at a stranger is an act of charity, then imagine what a sincere, warm, genuine smile directed at the woman you chose to share your life with does for the state of that relationship. Tenderness costs nothing in money, it costs only intention. It costs only the decision to override whatever emotional laziness or habit or distraction is pulling you elsewhere and to instead turn toward her with warmth. And when this becomes a daily practice rather than an occasional gesture, the emotional temperature of the entire marriage shifts. She becomes more open, more giving, more present, not because she changed, but because the environment finally felt safe enough for her to unfold. Most people do not realize this until it is too late. A woman who has been consistently met with tenderness does not become demanding. She becomes generous. She gives more freely because she is no longer managing the fear of scarcity. She no longer hoards her own affection as a defense against receiving none. She can be open, warm, responsive, and emotionally available because the person she is with has made it safe for her to be those things. The man who withholds tenderness and then wonders why his wife is cold is sometimes the very reason she became that way. Give first. Give consistently. Do not make her beg for the softness she deserves. I want to speak carefully here because this is not a simple topic and it deserves full honesty. Trust in a marriage is not just about the dramatic betrayals. Yes, infidelity destroys trust in ways that are catastrophic and that I have spoken about in other messages. But there are quieter ways that trust is eroded slowly over time through patterns of behavior that seem small individually but together create a profound sense of insecurity. A man who minimizes things, who says, I am just talking to a friend, and makes his wife feel unreasonable for sensing something is wrong. A man who makes promises and breaks them without acknowledgement or apology. A man who tells small lies about where he was or who he spoke to, not because anything improper happened, but because honesty requires a kind of emotional vulnerability he is not comfortable with. A man who reacts to his wife's reasonable concerns with irritation or defensiveness rather than with openness. All of these behaviors repeated over time teach her something. They teach her that her instincts cannot be trusted, that the environment is not fully safe, that she needs to stay alert. And here is the painful reality of what chronic low-level mistrust does to a woman. It does not only affect how she sees him, it begins to affect how she sees herself. She begins to wonder whether she is too suspicious, whether she is too sensitive, whether she is imagining things, whether she is the problem. She may gaslight herself, minimizing her own legitimate concerns because she has been told too many times that she is overreacting. And a woman who has lost confidence in her own perceptions is a woman who has lost a part of herself inside the relationship. This is one of the most serious emotional injuries that can happen in a marriage, and it often happens without either partner fully understanding what is occurring. What does trust building actually look like? It looks like complete transparency about things that matter. Not because she is controlling, but because transparency is what love offers when it has nothing to hide. It looks like keeping promises, and if a promise cannot be kept, acknowledging that with honesty before the disappointment arrives. It looks like admitting mistakes directly, without minimizing and without manipulation. It looks like responding to her concerns with openness rather than defensiveness, with the understanding that her anxiety has probably been built over time and that reassurance is not weakness. Trust is built through repeated evidence. Every time you are honest when it would have been easier to minimize, you are making a deposit, and the account of trust, when it is full, allows both of you to rest. I want to address something here that is sometimes misunderstood, both by men who use it as justification for behavior that is really just control, and by people outside our faith who mischaracterize it entirely. The concept of a man leading his family is a beautiful and important one, but it has been so frequently distorted that I need to speak about what it actually means before we can talk about what a woman actually wants from it. A woman who is asked what she wants from her man will often, if she feels safe enough to answer honestly, say something like this: I want to feel like I can lean on him. I want to feel like when things get hard, he will not collapse. I want to know that he is thinking about our future, that he is carrying his share of responsibility, that when I am overwhelmed, he will not add to my burden but carry some of it. I want a man I can trust to make decisions wisely, to hear me before he decides, and to take responsibility for the outcome. That is leadership. That is what she is asking for. What she is not asking for is a man who overrides her voice in the name of being the head of the household, who makes decisions that affect both of them without consulting her and calls it authority, who confuses dominance with strength and fear with respect. Our tradition describes the husband and wife as garments for each other, as partners in the most intimate project of a shared life. The Prophet, peace be upon him, consulted his wives. He valued their opinions. He changed his position based on their wisdom. This was not a weakness. This was a profound strength. It was the strength of a man secure enough in himself that he did not need to dominate in order to feel like a man. Emotional leadership, the kind that creates safety, looks like being calm in a crisis. It looks like taking responsibility without blame shifting. It looks like having the difficult conversation instead of avoiding it, because avoidance allows problems to grow in the dark. It looks like being consistent, dependable, and honest so that she knows what to expect and can trust the ground she is standing on. A woman does not need a man who has all the answers. She needs a man who takes responsibility seriously, who does not run away from hardship, who faces his family's needs with intention and presence. That is the man she can stand beside. That is the man she can trust. That is the man who makes her feel safe enough to fully be herself. We are approaching the end of this message, and I have saved something important for this moment. I have been building toward this because I believe it is the single most under-discussed aspect of what a woman needs from the man she loves. It is the experience of having her pain acknowledged, not agreed with, not necessarily validated as factually correct in every detail, but acknowledged, seen, treated as real. When a woman says, "You hurt me," she is doing something extraordinarily brave. She is making herself vulnerable to the one person whose response matters most to her. She is offering him her wound and trusting him to handle it carefully. And when his response is, "You are exaggerating," or "You are too sensitive," or "I already apologized, so why are you still bringing this up?" or "You always create problems," something inside her closes. Not dramatically, not with a scene, just quietly. A door shuts. And every time that same response happens, the door is a little harder to open again. What she needs to hear, what costs nothing and means everything, is something like this: "I can see this really affected you. I am sorry you experienced it that way. Help me understand what you felt. I do not want you to carry this alone." These words are not an admission of guilt. They are not a surrender of dignity. They are the language of a person who cares enough about the person in front of them to prioritize their emotional well-being over winning a point. And in a marriage, there are no points worth winning that cost the peace of the person you love. The Quran speaks of the husband and wife living together in kindness and in accordance with what is right. And what is right includes being just to the emotions of your partner, including treating her inner world with the same seriousness that you would want your inner world treated, including recognizing that when she is hurting, your response in that moment shapes the entire trajectory of her trust in you. She heals not only when the situation changes, she heals when she feels that the person she loves finally understands the depth of what she has been carrying. That understanding, that witnessing of her pain is sometimes more healing than the resolution of the problem itself. I want to say something to every man listening to this message who may be sitting with a kind of heaviness right now, who may be thinking, "This is so much, I have made so many mistakes, I did not know how much she needed and I did not provide it." I want to say this to you directly and with all the compassion I have. She does not want perfection. She never wanted perfection. Perfection does not exist in human beings, and she knows that. What she has always wanted, what she has always been asking for through every frustrated conversation and every withdrawal and every moment of tears that you did not understand, is effort. Genuine, consistent, humble effort. Effort to listen when it is inconvenient. Effort to control anger when it would be easier to release it. Effort to notice what she carries before she has to announce it. Effort to choose her over the comfort of emotional laziness. Effort to grow into the kind of partner she deserves, not because you are forced to, but because you understand what the marriage is, what she is, and what you want to be for her. A man who is genuinely trying, who makes mistakes and acknowledges them, who grows slowly and consistently, who shows through his behavior over time that he is taking this seriously. That man does not need to be perfect. She will choose him again and again. And here is the thing that most men only understand when it is too late, and I am telling you now so that it does not have to be too late for you. The woman who keeps coming to you with her pain, who keeps explaining what she needs, who keeps asking for things to be different, she is not your opponent. She is still fighting for the marriage. The moment to truly worry is the moment she stops. When she stops explaining, when she stops asking, when the tears stop and the arguments stop and she simply becomes quiet and distant and almost unnervingly peaceful. Because that peace is not healing. That quiet is not contentment. That is a woman who has made a decision in her heart and is simply waiting for the right moment to act on it. Do not wait for that silence. respond to her voice while she is still using it, we have come to the end of this message. And I want to close by speaking directly to the heart of every man who has stayed with me through this journey. I want to say that the fact that you are here, the fact that you listened, the fact that you allowed these words to land already says something important about you. It says you care. And caring is the starting point of everything. What a woman really wants from her man is not complicated, even though living it requires depth of character. She wants to feel safe in his presence so that she never has to manage her own honesty around him. She wants to feel heard when she speaks so that the act of sharing her inner world feels like connection rather than risk. She wants to feel chosen daily so that she never questions where she stands in the life he is building. She wants to feel respected when things are hard so that their conflicts become growth rather than wounds. She wants to feel appreciated for the invisible work so that her exhaustion finally feels seen. She wants to feel tenderness without begging for it so that she can be fully open rather than constantly defended. She wants to feel trusted and trusting so that the marriage is a place of rest rather than vigilance. She wants leadership that feels like protection rather than control. And she wants, above everything, for her pain to matter, because pain that matters to the person you love is pain that can finally begin to heal. Allah, the Lord of all, placed between the husband and wife a mercy and a tenderness that is one of His signs in the earth. He called marriage a place of rest, a place of love, a place of spiritual completion. This was not a description of what marriage automatically becomes. It was a description of what marriage can become when both people choose it intentionally and consistently, and with the awareness that Allah sees every moment of kindness and every moment of neglect. He sees the nights she prayed alone. He sees the days she served while being unseen. He sees the effort you will make after today if you choose to make it. And He rewards consistency even when it is small. So if this message has reached something real inside you, if it has named something you have been feeling or noticing or needing to hear, then do not let it stay as a feeling. Let it become a choice. One small choice today, one moment of genuine listening, one act of noticing before she has to ask, one word of tenderness in an ordinary moment. Because that is where marriages are actually built, not in the grand declarations, but in the accumulated quiet moments where two people choose each other again and again in the ordinary fabric of a shared life. And if you are a woman listening to this and this message has made you feel seen, please share it with someone who loves a good man but has been trying to find the words for what they need. And if you are carrying pain right now, if this message touched wounds that have not yet healed, I want you to know that Allah sees you. He heard every prayer you offered in the dark. He witnessed every time you chose patience when you could have chosen bitterness. And His plan for you, whatever form it takes, is rooted in a mercy far larger than what you can currently see. Type "I love Allah" in the comments if this message spoke to your heart, and share what you are going through, how you are trying to grow, what you are hoping for. You are not alone in this. And if you leave today without applying even one thing from what was shared, the distance in your relationship will remain exactly where it is. But one step, one genuine shift in how you show up for the person you love can begin to change everything. Allah loves those who are consistent even in small things. Begin today. Begin now. Begin with one act of love that she does not have to ask for. hadith and Quran references. The description of the best man being the best to his wives is from the hadith narrated by Abu Huraira and recorded in Sunan al-Tirmidhi and Sunan ibn Majah. The statement that none of you truly believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself is recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, narrated by Anas ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. The description of spouses as garments for one another is from Surah Al-Baqarah chapter 2 verse 187 of the Holy Quran. The description of marriage as containing between the spouses mawadda and rahmah, love and mercy as signs of Allah is from Surah Ar-Rum chapter 30 verse 21 of the Holy Quran. The hadith that the strong person is the one who controls himself in anger is recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari, narrated by Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him. The hadith describing that the Prophet, peace be upon him, used to help in household work is recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari, narrated by Al-Aswad, who asked Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. The instruction to live with wives in kindness and according to what is right is from Surah An-Nisa chapter 4 verse 19 of the Holy Quran. The hadith that a smile toward your brother is an act of charity is recorded in Sunan al-Tirmidhi, narrated by Abu Dharr, may Allah be pleased with him. The principle that the most beloved actions to Allah are those done consistently, even if small, is recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, narrated by Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her.